Welcome to the Max and Vernon project. Glad to have you all. This one, by the way, is sponsored by Explore Mobility Program.
Stop.
They're paying. They paid a ton of money for ad space on this. Vernon's mobility program, and also, apparently, I didn't pay enough. My Always an Athlete program is sponsored too. To get 20% off, we have an actual working promo code, mind you. First time ever we offer an actual working promo code, Always an Athlete, all capitals, into the Always an Athlete program to get 20% off for life. Honestly, when I first made the program, I was like, how the heck do I price this thing? Because I'm involved in it. I'm in the message boards. And I thought, wow, $45 at first. When I first heard that, I was like, that's kind of a lot. And then I thought about it as a consumer and was like, well, that's like one group session of like a fitness class for a whole month of training. I'm like, oh, that's really affordable. So that's kind of a random thought, but I'm still offering 20% off for life. That's forever.
It's a steal. It's a steal. Super steal.
And be on the lookout, guys. By the way, too, I'm about to release a new program called Exploring Mobilities. And it's basically going to be a cheaper version of Vernon. I'm gonna
buy buys and just copy everything.
You know, you can buy it as a coach. There's a coach's buy, and you can resell it. I'm gonna buy yours and cut you under, cut your legs out.
I would be impressed. It just turns into a thing where then I just start buying all your stuff and then just undercutting yours. Join my team. Sometimes an athlete.
Moderately athletic. Not always an athlete. Yeah, sometimes an athlete.
Dependent athlete upon Alex or Max's programming.
Discovery mobility.
Ooh, I like it.
All right, well, we're going to hop into here. Speaking of programs, there's a reason why we mentioned them. Because today's episode is about the all-debated, almighty topic of programming. And now to keep the constraints there, because my goodness, when we talk about programming, you could go all sorts of directions. We're going to keep it kind of our best we can into the actual quantifiable. So that is like sets, reps, exercises, and stuff like that. We're going to try to avoid the neurophysio-theoretical aspect of programming and all that stuff as we go through this here. So to open her off, we do have some questions that have been submitted prior to this. And it'll be a good starting point to roll from here. And so we can leverage some of our audience's questions and then a little bit of a flow going forward about some of the intricacies that we think about programming that maybe the questions didn't allow us to discuss. So question numero uno, Vernon, is how many days a week should I train?
I mean, I guess that depends. So
and we're not allowed to open anything up with it depends.
Oh man.
That's the answer for everything.
It is. But so I guess I get this question quite a bit when it comes to new clients and new athletes looking to train. And the first question I always ask is, what else do you have going on? What is your availability that you have? And what is the timeline for your goals? Because I think all those questions play an important part in knowing how many days you should train. I mean, we all know the textbook answer, I guess, of the minimum time is, the 2 times a week for 6 weeks to see some sort of adaptations depending upon your training age. But it depends. To me, we're not allowed to use the word "it depends." Damn it, Max. But it's to
me, it's 2 points. It's 0 to -2 right now.
So we should take a shot every time "it depends" is said like that.
You have a tequila bottle right behind you. Is that what I see?
Oh.
This could be a short or a long podcast. I'm not sure which way that would end up going.
But to me, the timeline is the big one. What's our timeline that we need to get the goal? And that will kind of dictate the amount of training sessions that I think we need to do. And also the training age of the person. Like, are we going to be spending a lot of time teaching movements where we're not actually chasing some sort of adaptation? It's more of trying to set the foundation for the training that we're trying to load with. So I guess that would be the questions that I would ask for someone else. What would be your response to that?
Well, Vernon gave no exact dates, no exact number of days, and basically talked around the entire question. So it is -3 to 0 currently.
I'm pretty good at
I,
that.
I would honestly say if it's a new person who hasn't trained before, 3 days a week. I'll give you a definitive answer. And my reasoning behind 3 days a week is that first and foremost, you want to have an off day between your next session. Why? Well, because more times than not, they're going to be really sore no matter what you kind of do. Even if you just stretch, this is someone who hasn't worked out before, it's almost inevitable that you're going to have something sore. It's nearly unavoidable. So we have one day, but the reason why I do 3 is because if this is someone brand new, I want to take every day as an opportunity to teach them the movements that we're going to load in the future. So if I think every day is going to be a total body day, now not heavy loaded, but we're at least going to move through the full body, I then want the next day off just to play it safe. A lot of times, sometimes soreness takes 2 days to manifest. So if they come in the next day, they're kind of feeling okay. And let's say in some weird world, I train them like at 3 p.m. one day and at 8 a.m. the next day. That's not even 24 hours, mind you, that recovery time. Right? Just because you went to bed, it's not time, hours. And so then I have that day off in between. I can text them, how are things feeling, which is nice for me to know. Okay, maybe on Wednesday, we're going to do a little more of this. Oh, I felt fine. I actually felt like I could do more. Sometimes you'll even get this. On my day off, I went and ran because they're just so motivated, which is really cool because now they're taking the onus upon themselves, but also it gives you a chance because you get to see, okay, well, maybe they ran too much and you're like, well, let's listen to my program going forward a little bit because now you're really sore.
Yeah.
If they are an athlete who it's the off season and they've been rearing to go 5 days a week. The reason why I say that is because they want to go 7, probably. They're an athlete who's itching. You probably want them to go more like 4 to 5 because you want to load them heavier. So you kind of meet in the happy medium and maybe go 5 to 6. In that, if it's the first time back, you make sure those sessions are really short to the point. Leave feeling better than you came in. We're not trying to get sore, especially if you want to train 6 days a week. I have to get you back so I'm training you so I can train you. Current state of affairs. So the first couple of weeks, all I care about is you getting in 45 minutes of work that's not going to tire you out. And now we've had the ability to actually kind of load you these weeks going forward. So those are kind of my 2, bits of framework. The 3 days a week will move to 4. And if they're feeling great, that beginner who moved to 4 can go to 5. If they want to do 6 and 7, I highly recommend do an activity. Go have fun. Go for a hike because that's why you're training. You're not just training to lift weights unless that's really your cup of tea. I'm happy to provide you with like some arms on the weekend. But go do something. Go enjoy the strength and foundation you've built.
Yeah. So then I think it would go to what their goal was with the training session. So a lot of the athletes I work with that are coming back from school or in between seasons, they want to work out more. And I almost feel obliged to have them work out more because they're going to work out whether it's with me or not. So I feel the tendency of wanting to train with them more. So maybe if it's not personally, at least involved with their programming, because I know that they're going to do something because they perceive them not training with their competition training and they got to grind every day. And that's just kind of the mentality with a lot of the younger athletes that I work with. So if I can have my finger on the pulse, even if it's lightly, I think that's pretty important when it comes to the long-term development of them.
And this feeds right into the second question. That is, how long should I train for time-wise? And when I say train, I mean in the weight room.
Okay.
Some guys are like, I want to get there 20 minutes early and stretch and get mentally right because you're like, that's how some people are.
Yep.
Cool. As long as your heart rate's not up, I really don't care what you do before I get there.
So we're talking duration of the training session?
Yeah, of the training session itself.
So I guess without throwing the words out there, so I have to take another shot. It would be based off of the personality of that client. I have some guys that literally want to lift for an hour and a half, but we're really not lifting for an hour and a half. We're socializing, and it becomes a very I don't what's the correct word, therapy type session where they're telling me about their family, and I know more about their life than I do probably their rep scheme because they're talking so much. But it's not my job to identify why this, or it's not my job to tell this person why they're training. If they're there to talk to me, whatever it is. But I personally feel like you mentioned before that sweet spot is around that 45 minutes. I feel like once we go past that, unless that person really loves working out, it's kind of like we're just there to be there. And I feel like anything less than 45 minutes, if I'm actually getting a good movement prep, if I'm actually cooling down, if I'm actually doing those things, that 40 to 45 minutes is kind of normally where that session sits. And that also gives me that buffer if it goes out to an hour to have that time for them to talk about things, talk about their day, whatever it is.
Yes, I like that because it does take into context, like you said, the purpose of that training session. Is that person going to talk a lot? Or are they? But at the end of the day, the guy who talks a lot versus the guy who doesn't talk a lot, but probably both 45 minutes of, engaged work.
Yep.
Is what I'd say. I agree with you. So when I get a beginner on that first day, it's almost like a 30-minute day. I'll kick them out early. Like, no, go home. I want, because if I leave you here, you're just going to keep working out. And especially it was interesting, like in altitude, we had, like, I'd always be short because you're going to be tired. You're coming, if they traveled somewhere and they just got back. Well, you got to get used to the high altitude. So you are probably going to be very tired very quickly, even though you don't think you will be. So we're going to take it easy. I like the idea of that 30 to an hour. If you want to do 2 hours, make it another hour session, 4 hours to 5 hours after your training session. Like, if I want to go play basketball and, whatever, well, don't do it right after your training. Just because a different activity doesn't make it a distinction in the actual stress response, right? Your body's still activated the whole time.
So I got a question for you with this. Do you ever feel the pressure when you're with someone and it's an hour block, whether it's a client, whether it's a team, and you feel the need that you have to fill this time? And I don't know if it's a client interaction or an athlete that's like, hey, we're already finished. Like, what do you mean? Like, do you ever feel that, like, sort of, I don't know if it's uneasiness, but it's that, like, am I selling them short? Do I give them more? Do I toss stuff in? Have you ever felt that way?
I think everyone feels that way, and it's undeniable, especially when someone purchased a slot of time.
Yep.
And so as a coach, you can kind of maneuver that through a little song and dance of, oh, your first day back, let's make sure we have a good warm up and cool down. The only time you take them through an actual cool down is that day. Oh, we got 20 minutes left. I'm going to show you how to work the foam roller here a little bit. I got some new soft tissue stuff you can do at home. Oh my, look at the time. An hour's gone by. Can you believe that? Golly. Because that can happen. And you can also extend your rest intervals.
Yeah.
Because the ultimate aspect of this is you're trying to have someone work out, but you're trying to make sure they work out not too much, and especially when they first getting back to it. And so a way to do that is you can extend the rest intervals longer. And you just explain that. You know what? We're going to kind of do a similar workout that we normally do, but we're going to extend our rest intervals because we want to make sure we're fully recovered. And next thing you know, and then 3.5 minute rest interval, and you did, your hour is up. And because as a coach, it's hard because they bought a product from you. They bought a slot of time. How do you provide and justify that value?
Yeah. So I think my big thing with that is walks. I almost all the sessions I have, unless they run long, as much as I can. If it's not with me, I always send athletes on them, but is going on walks at the end of a session. And it kind of goes back to what you said, where the last thing I want is at the end of a session, heart rate's up, whatever, blood pressure's up, and they just jump back in their car and start driving. For one, I don't like the optics of that. And for two, like you said, I want them to leave feeling good. when people leave after going on a walk and just talking about things, they normally feel good. And it's a good time filler. And even if we run out of time, they go on the walks themselves. Like it's pretty much my default to damn near every session, unless it's raining or unless they got somewhere to go, is to walk at the end of the session.
I like that. That's yes, and it's great too. Everyone should, cardio, whatever that is. It's good for you.
Which muscle's that?
Yeah, the old heart muscle, arguably your most important, right behind your biceps. So next question is, when it comes to programming, what should I, as a coach, focus my attention on most? Not attention in regards to observation of an exercise, but attention in regards to writing the program itself. Should I focus on the movements we do, or should I focus more on the loading of movements?
Ooh. Ooh. Is the point of you asking these questions to get me to not try to say it depends?
It never,
depends.
these are all very, very concrete, multiple choice, obvious answers, universal truths we speak here. So just please just answer it.
I mean, to me, I think movement is always first, just based on how it looks.
Not
then,
a look. We're talking about purely the focus of of a coach when writing it. If we could just listen to the questions, this would be much easier. When someone's writing a program, should the coach's attention, their focus, their attention to detail be directed towards the movements they're selecting for this person, or more about how they load the movements that are already selected? So not like if the person's in front of me, are they doing a squat appropriately? But should I do a Bulgarian versus split squat? Should I focus on that portion? Or should I focus on, should I do 90% versus 70%?
well, I think my answer would be sort of the second, because it would be the loads we're applying, but not necessarily the loads of the movements, because we should be loading them. The movement the exercise can change. Is the load, how you load it, is what's important, because if you're programming something, you're looking at the finish line, you're backing up from the finish line to try to find, how you would load building towards that finish line based off of where you're starting at currently. So I guess you would have to say the load when you're programming it. And then while the program is occurring.
Stop. That was not a part of the question. Vernon says load. Okay, I get to respond now. My goodness. You're going to be booted. I'm going to ask myself these questions.
I feel like when I'm asked these questions, you already have the answer. And it's just like, well, let Vernon say what he's going to say, because I'm about to tell him what the fuck the right answer is.
No, there was not a right or wrong answer. You just had to answer the question. My God.
I'm not good at the right answers.
I just like me talking about an oil change all of a sudden. Not sure what we're going on here, Vernon. Vernon thinks load is a good focus, and I agree.
Good.
Perfect. I think load is the correct thing to think about, because load, more so than most movements, assuming they're all taught correctly, is what can fatigue or break or hurt someone. Has the highest impact on your physiology. Yeah. So your load should be thought of first, assuming you know how to teach the movement. You're not just loading a Zercher up and not know how to teach a Zercher, but you know what you're actually doing.
Well, it's I think when you look at it like that, it's I guess one of my favorite things to think about is the only variables that matter are the ones you can control. And when it comes to the load that we can apply, that's a very controlled variable that we can apply dependent upon the program, dependent upon daily, how they're feeling that day. But if you're teaching everything equal and they're healthy for the most part, everything's as is, the load, that's that's what programming is. It's applying a stimulus over a certain period of time.
Yes. All right. So I'm going to have an ad read in. We have a couple more questions after. Ooh, ow. My hip. It's pretty tight today.
Oh my God, stop.
I wonder what I can do. If I could only explore something, it's like my mobility is lacking.
What
Need
a
help
terrible.
with your need help with your mobility? Check out Vernon's Explore Mobility. It's not a discount code, but you can try it. Use MAX222 to get 22% off. I'm not sure if that works actually, but you give it a go. See what happens. You never know. Check out Explore Mobility with Vernon. Mission.
That was terrible.
I just read them, Vernon.
Oh, I got to get on our guy. We got to get a better reading.
Ha 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 ha. You are so slow you can't jump high. You're
Oh
so unathletic. You used to be athletic, man. What happened? Fighting father time? Jeez, it looks like you're stuck to the ground.
my
It
God.
looks like you're a step slow. It's embarrassing how you move. You ever get these thrown at you? Were you once an athlete and no longer are? Not because your heart isn't there, but because your mind and body haven't trained like one? Join Always an Athlete. Use Always an Athlete, all capitals, to get 20% off for life. Come join our team today. Train heroic. Always an Athlete. Unlock your athletic freedom.
Why does the second one have a lot more better tone in the voice? Like there's a lot more there's a lot more confidence in it working, a lot more excitement. Like the first one was kind of like confused. The second one was like, this is what you need to do. Like I feel a little bias going on here.
You know what? I'm not very traditional, and neither should you. Sometimes you need to do some untraditional barbell training to see better results. That was awesome. That was good.
That was a good one.
Check out Brand's non-traditional barbell training to see non-traditional results. Do the same thing. Stay lame.
Jesus Christ. What's the next programming question?
I was just getting some ad reads in. I'm trying to get some revenue for this podcast out here. Come on, dude.
Fair enough.
All right. All right. We have two more questions. The question is, what happens if my client doesn't give me a goal to program?
Ooh. So I think that's a pretty common one. A lot of the people I work with don't really have a goal, or their goal is look better naked. That's the goal. Like, which is a goal, which is very fair. But most of them, it's almost like they don't know why they're there. They just know that they should be there. Especially the people that are not athletes currently. It's almost like, so I like to ask the goal.
You almost threw up.
Yeah, did you see that? Sorry. Sorry. I just had a margarita.
Wild. That would have been a pretty exciting podcast moment.
But
too many tacos.
I like to ask the goal question throughout the program because I feel like when people start training and they start doing things, they start to realize that they can do more than they anticipated. So those goals tend to, I don't want to maybe even evolve, or they figure out new goals that they want. Most of the people, not most, but many of the people I've worked with don't have an initial goal. They just want to feel better.
That's tough, right? Because if someone wants to get quote unquote better, but doesn't know how to define better, how can you showcase that they're getting better?
Yeah.
It's not the easiest in the world. And it's a lot of communication, making sure the person's goals don't change or they get one, right? Being as a coach, maybe you can impose some goals. I think you should get stronger, have an evaluation. Maybe that helps set up goals that they didn't know they had or that need to be looked at in the first place. So those are always means that you could do so.
Yeah.
So our last question here is, should I or should I not focus more so on bodybuilding type movements compared to strength movements if my person has no goal? So let's just pretend we have blank slate person. And the question is, I think what it's trying to get at is, should I focus on getting them stronger or should I focus on building more muscle mass? Assuming that person's not going to answer one way or the other, I want X goal.
I think my goal, or I would lean towards both of them. There's no reason. I don't know if I'd go full isolation. I don't have access to machines, but if I did, maybe that's
Just
something I would.
only non-traditional barbell stuff.
Touche. But I heard someone say functional bodybuilding one time, and I actually laughed at it because I was like, oh my God, we're literally just throwing the word functional around like it's crazy. But then I read more on their little social media posts, and I was like, you know what? That's what most people are doing. They are doing compound movements, I guess, which are deemed as functional for the most part, and they're doing things that they can have a bodybuilding aspect to. Like, so it's been given this term functional bodybuilding. Like, I want to be functionally fit and be able to healthy and move healthy and feel good, but at the same time, I want to look good. Like, I don't want to be a power lifter where I'm super strong, but I don't like look strong. I want to look the part if I'm putting all the effort in. So when I saw that term functional bodybuilding, I chuckled. But then when I really think about it, I'm like, man, that's kind of how I work out. Like, I do all the typical.
And it shows, baby.
let's not talk bad about that word.
I mean, you guys aren't here. Vernon's not even wearing a shirt in this podcast. Guns a-blazing.
But when I heard that, it made me chuckle. But when you really think about it, that is kind of like, I want to be strong, but at the same time, I want to look strong. Like, I joke around with some of my friends that are way stronger than me. And I'm like, but bro, I have a bigger chest than you. Like, congratulations that you can bench more than me. You don't wear a shirt that says you can bench 100 pounds more than me because I look like I bench more than you. So that's what I care about. This is all show. If I have somewhat go, I'm good with that. I'm not always an athlete anymore, I guess.
Well, I have a program that can help you out.
Well, what is your answer? Always an athlete?
All right, you ready for it? Strong legs, big arms.
What?
That's strong legs, big arms.
Yeah.
I'll leave it as simple as that.
Yeah.
And assuming you're a person who would like big arms, maybe it's strong legs and bigger glutes. I don't know, but I think strong legs is critical. Strong and powerful legs is necessary. I don't think you need strong and powerful, medial delts. Just some big old some shoulder wealth, baby.
Right? Shoulder wealth, not shoulder health.
Shoulder wealth, not health. You know what's good for you.
That's true. But I mean, that's a good way to look at it, man. I can't argue with that because for the most part, with the people that don't have specific goals, that's a good general platform or foundation to start with.
We visit, pay a lot of trips to the old arm farm. That's where we pay a visit. Go feed the Biceratops.
What?
The Triceratactyl. Little dino farm, big arms. You know what's good for you.
A little arm farm goes a long way.
So I've arm farmed every day this week.
When we talked about earlier about that leftover time, that is a default because it makes people feel good. It's really not going to stress them too much, and they feel good. And
I once programmed arm farm every day for a week, and that was the only thing we did. That's my new intro program. Just straight. What you got today? Arms.
Most people are like
sick. Arms.
Sick.
I got a story for this guy. Came into a place I was at, and we were showing him around and taking time to go through everything. And he looks at us and goes, honestly, I just want to do some arms and chest. And I was like, my man. We speak in the same language here, brother. Me too.
And there's nothing wrong with that, man.
Oh, well, that wraps up our programming questions. Thank you once again for tuning in and paying us a visit here at the Max and Vernon Project. We appreciate you guys listening, and we don't ask of you ever, but we ask of you it now. Vernon and I are trying to make this the world's largest podcast. It's a kind of a new forum. It's not really well known. We're excited to be a big fish in a small pond. If you wouldn't mind, give us a like, give us 5 stars, leave us a little review, give us a share, give us a retweet, share some quotes you like. recommend us to a friend. Some of those things can go a long way. It's really hard to build a podcast when not many people even know what podcasting is in the first place. So we got to bring awareness to this new type of medium here that which we can communicate through. And then again, we're kind of the first people in this door, so we're excited to be the big fish in a small pond. Again, really appreciate you guys people who found our podcast. I know it's hard because not many people even listen to podcasts, but if you have, tell a friend, refer a friend. It won't get you anything, but it'll just get us some people who can listen to us. We can all be a big community here talking about strength and science and all things Vernon. So come on in. Excited to have you. Much love from Max and Vernon. And thank you. We appreciate you.
Definitely.
Y-O-U. You.